And Africa requires more bankable projects to unlock investment flows from private sector as the continent explores various innovative financing models to tackle the huge gap of accessing climate finance. I spoke to Patricia Ojangole. Here's more.
There has been progress made in our development journey, but what we increasingly see is the impacts of climate change offsetting these gains. Second, although gains are being made, we still have a long way to do in mobilizing investments across many sectors. We need to develop our infrastructure. We still need to construct our roads. We need to do railway. We need to do hospitals, among others. And all these investments require massive capital. This is where I see the nexus between finance and climate change, in that we need massive investments of capital in addressing the negative impacts and specifically adaptation interventions, but for development and doing so in a sustainable way.
Interesting. With the reference to the current global financial architecture, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing when it comes to access to finance that are climate focused?
What I see as one of the challenges is the lengthy processes of accreditation from the implementing mechanisms such as the GCF Adaptation Fund, among others. The process is a bit tedious, and the entities that would be intermediaries for channeling climate finance to various investments have to go through a very lengthy process, and currently this takes quite a number of years. The other challenge that I see is limited project pipelines that would provide alternative sources of capital, such as the private sector. And what we understand is currently public finance is available, but private capital is still or is yet to be mobilized. So one of the necessary ingredients for private capital to flow is that there has to be a stock of good projects that can attract private investment. But currently that seems to be a challenge. And therefore there is need for innovation around different instruments that can be used to channel finance to climate projects.
And as the Uganda Development Finance, of course, what sort of innovative approaches are you looking at when it comes to mobilizing and unlocking new capital?
At Uganda Development Bank, we have been proactive. From our engagements with different funders a number of years ago, we realized that this agenda of climate finance had to be a priority. So what we set out to do was to put in place a climate finance facility, which is a special purpose vehicle for mobilizing, deployment, measuring, verification, impacts of climate change among the projects that we do. So this facility is meant to provide financial interventions, really looking at the supply of finance and the non-financial interventions to support project readiness and increase the stock of projects that are available for investment.
And as we wrap up, what are some of the outcomes that you expect from COP28 as someone coming out of the financial sector?
There are great commitments that have been made, but just in line with the previous question, how do we access the funding, but do so within the context of Africa? So I think African leaders need to come together. They need to determine solutions that work for Africa amidst the global conversations, determine African priorities, and in the end, what we hope to see is have African solutions for African problems.
And of course, this raises a lot of concerns around African solutions for African problems. Looking at Africa having the least in number of emissions and still receiving the least of share when it comes to climate funds for adaptation as well as for mitigation.
True. Africa currently emits less. And talking about priorities, I think the priorities need to be around adaptation. And that is why African leaders need to understand what our priority should be and come up with a position to negotiate solutions and interventions that would work for Africa, because the way then we'll deal with this is different from the rest of the developed countries, for example, who should be prioritizing mitigation. But because we also need to still develop, to still catch up, to still increase stock of investments, we need to do so in a sustainable way.